Know Yourself, Part 3. Your Mind. Do you know how to fight when you are overtaken by demonic attacks? When heavy oppression comes upon your mind due to accusation or blasphemous thoughts? Do you know how to break through it all by appropriating the truth of God? Perhaps you have been confused and afraid, believing that you have lost your salvation due to blasphemous thoughts. You have been convinced that you grieved or quenched the Holy Ghost, and then you get even more depressed. Yet the problem is not as it may seem. It could be that you had a false conversion at the moment you invited Jesus into your heart, or at the moment you repeated the sinner's prayer. Some believe they are saved because they were raised in church. Here is how the demonic setup works. You believe that you are a child of God. However, the demon or fallen angel assigned to you knows that you are not born again, so he works with your deception by accusing you of losing a salvation that you never had in the first place. Let me make it plain. The religious demon assigned to you planted blasphemous thoughts into your mind.
God is a liar.
What? God is a liar? Since you believe that the thoughts are your own, then the evil spirit turns around and tells you you are going to hell for thinking the thought that he himself planted. I can't believe I just thought that. Oh no. Oh no. I'm going to hell. I'm going to hell. What do I do now? As such, he continuously pours oppression on you to keep you down so that you go under and not over when the battlefield of your mind is attacked. I have some liberating news for you, if only you will receive it. You need to know that if you are concerned that you have blasphemed the Holy Ghost, then you have not done so. Why? Well, your concern is the actual evidence that you are not reprobate. One thing is true. The blasphemous thoughts are not your own. They are being projected into your mind by the religious spirit that is assigned to you. To determine whether an idea comes from you or a demon, you should observe how it arose. If your mind is at peace, is functioning normally, but then suddenly a complete thought or idea flashes across your mind, if it is as quick as lightning, it is most likely a demon. The entity is attempting to inject his thoughts into your head and thus induce you to accept the thought as your own. It is unmistakable that the message is entirely new, something you never thought of yourself. The thought arose abruptly and all by itself. When this happens, you should ask yourself, do I really think in this manner? Is it really I who am thinking? Do I want to think that way? Or is this something which simply becomes activated in my mind all by itself? You should determine whether or not it is you who did the thinking. If you did not originate the idea, but on the contrary, you oppose it, and yet it still abides in your head, you can assume that that idea is from the enemy. Wait, I've always known God is not a liar. That's not even something that I would think. You know what? That wasn't even me. That thought was from a demon. Each thought which you choose not to think, and each one which opposes your will, comes not from you, but from outside of you.
In the last few months, I've gotten more telephone calls with people who are having a certain problem that Christians ought not to have. What is that problem? Hearing voices. Now, the mental health world calls hearing voices schizophrenia. And there are various levels or kinds of voices that eventually I will get into if this turns into a series. For example, there are command hallucinations, where the voices not only condemn and accuse you and come forth with blasphemies against God, the voices give a command and suggest that you do something. that you take action. Perhaps that you hurt yourself or somebody else. Now we're talking danger. And I lay it all these mental health disorders that are happening to Christians in a particular class. And I use a Bible term to classify them. Listen, y'all. They're plagues. They are the plagues of Revelation chapter 18:4, where Jesus said, "Come out of her. Be not partakers of her sins, lest ye receive of her plagues." You got to know who her is in order to overcome this problem. There are all kinds of doorways in the chakras that are open that allow the spirit world to be able to communicate to flesh. You know, all kinds of things. Hypnosis, drugs, transcendental meditation, yoga, this whole Kundalini move. These kinds of things, altered states of consciousness, are a way to open up the doors, the doorways, the openings in the soul to evil spirits. Now, here's how it goes. And the interesting thing about this is that what I'm about to read to you was written about 100 years ago, or maybe more. The author, the renowned woman of God, Jessie Penn Lewis. And she writes this in her book, Life in the Spirit. Here it is. Little book that you all should have. Life in the Spirit. And all the time, it is a stream from the enemy, as the accuser pouring into your mind, as pictures to your mental vision, a flood of accusations about yourself, which, if you only recognize that they came from him, would cease. Satan carries out his work, or carries out this work, by means of his wicked spirits. And they're speaking to you. And here it comes. This is what I hear from people who are calling me on the phone. This is what I hear. And this is what a woman wrote 100 years ago. And their speaking to you is like a ceaseless running commentary upon your actions. That exactly describes the speaking of evil spirits. Ceaseless whisperings, morning, noon, and night. Now reason it out for yourself. It is not you thinking, because there is no action of your brain in the matter. You do not really think those things. This ceaseless stream of comment is forced in on you in spite of yourself, although you do not want it. That apparently inward, ceaseless buzz of something making comments upon you and your actions all the day is directly from evil spirits of Satan. The moment you recognize it and name it, you are on the first step to deliverance. I think that's where I'll stop, with the first step to deliverance. You got to name it and know that these voices that you are hearing are not yours.